If you're just joining us, we have another new book that we can spill all of the wonderful details on. Michael, let's talk about Strixhaven, a curriculum of chaos. On a scale from 1 to 10, how excited are you to get into this?
I am at a 10. I was playing Magic the Gathering yesterday. I've been reading all the Strixhaven lore. I am so stoked for this setting. It's going to be fantastic.
No pun intended? Pun intended? Hard to say?
I didn't even realize I made a pun, so not intended.
It's, fantasy. I'm stretching. I'm just very happy about this. We're getting Strixhaven, a curriculum of chaos. It is coming at us, I want to say in November, but I'm going to check the date. The School of Magic is in session. Here's our official info. The greatest minds in the multiverse meet at Strixhaven University. Professors convey fantastic secrets to eager students, and life on campus is frenetic. But danger lurks even here. Campus hijinks mix with mishaps and sinister plots. And it's up to you to save the day. It's going to introduce the setting of Strixhaven University, drawn from the multiverse of Magic the Gathering, and give you rules for creating characters who are students in one of the 5 colleges. You can explore the setting over the course of 4 adventures. This is not just a setting book. This is 2/3 of this book is going to be adventure, taking you through all 4 years of Strixhaven, which is so cool. Can be played together or on their own. Each one describes an academic year filled with scholarly pursuits, campus shenanigans, exciting friendships, hidden dangers, and perhaps even romance. We're going to have maps, of course, for the campus and various important locations. And we have a lot of key stuff to get into. But Michael, first thoughts, now that we can start sharing on Strixhaven Curriculum of Chaos.
I'm so stoked. If you've played Magic the Gathering, you know this setting well. If you haven't played Magic the Gathering, that's okay, because Strixhaven, just like the Witchlight Carnival, it can be injected into your campaign. You don't need to have like dense knowledge of the Magic the Gathering multiverse in order to play this, in order to work with the book, because you can literally just take the university. And let's say you're in Waterdeep, you're playing Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and one of your players is like, I want to go to school. You can replace the El Torchel Academy with Strixhaven very easily.
Essentially, lots of different magical lore can lend itself to and then I went off to get some training, right? And now we have a plug-inable place to do that. And a doorway to a bunch of interesting kinds of storytelling that you may or may not have ever tried with D&D before that have me very, very excited. So essentially, we are going to get a full adventure that will take you from level 1 to level 10 across the 4 years. We are going to get I hadn't decided what order I was going to share all the cool stuff in. Sorry, guys. I'm very overwhelmed and happy. We are going to get a full adventure across those 4 years of school. They're going to develop for us. We're going to have descriptions for the 5 founding dragons and for among the 40 creatures that we're getting in this book. We're going to get descriptions for important NPCs you're going to encounter at school, and maybe your professors and classmates. There are going to be 18 fully fleshed out NPCs that you might encounter. And one thing, Michael, I was curious your thoughts on this, because we haven't had a chance to talk about this yet, but there will be a new, probably optional, but it depends on how you play, mechanic in this for friends and rivalries and special someones that will be worked into the flow of the adventure. What are your thoughts on that one? It's going to be, I love that they try these experiments with the magic books.
So they have a term for those NPCs that are either like your best friends or a sibling, or a partner, and they are the beloved. And I absolutely love this because confession, I'm most excited about Strixhaven because I want to go to prom again.
Oh,
I want to go on a date.
Honestly, I was talking earlier about having played a lot of different games and a lot of different systems, and I love the powerful flexibility of tabletop role-playing games to do a ton of different kinds of stories. And while it absolutely sounds like Strixhaven is going to have adventure and danger and all the things I'm accustomed to getting with D&D, it's also going to have some stuff you may or may not have ever tried at your table, and that plays into a bunch of really awesome stuff. Like this beautiful illustration of the dance. I'm pointing the wrong way, but
I
I'm
know.
very excited.
I'm dying. Honestly, like I just need to say that representation matters so much in media. And just being able to see, artwork like this, the wizard boyfriend's artwork that's in Tasha's, it lights up my heart because growing up there was not a whole lot of representation that I was seeing. I think I had like Will and Grace, that was mostly positive. So seeing that this book is really cares about the vast diversity of people that are actually playing this game. It really excites me, and I think that this mechanic that we're going to be seeing, of how you can befriend NPCs and how you can relate to other individuals. I think it's really important, and I think it's really beautiful. And so I think, when I play in this campaign, hopefully someone will be my DM. I could just relive my high school years and in a very welcoming environment, and just go to prom again. Somebody please take me to prom again. Oh gosh, I just got so cheesy. But this is beautiful. This is such a beautiful book.
If you can't enjoy a big emotional moment in your fantasy storytelling game, what are we even doing here? What, for me, I love everything you just said. I love the fact that we've talked about this a good bit on various streams and things, but it does feel strongly as if the game that I have always loved is catching up to all of us who've always loved it. We're just more in sync than we've ever been with that community who was already here, already loved these games, but has more and more access than that. Like the designers themselves are getting to put pieces of themselves into things optionally. I make no assumptions about what anybody's particular contributions are, but we can see over time the way that manifests in like Ravenloft and other games in these incredibly creative, fascinating settings and ideas, and this inspiring art. And I love it very much. So in addition to the fact that I'm just a sucker for school stories, I'm an X-Men kid. So if there's a school full of people accidentally blowing things up, I am there on day one. This is a long-standing thing with me. And of course, for the actual game stuff, in addition to that mechanic that I'm really excited to see play out in terms of forming relationships over time and having that be woven into the narrative and the mechanics of the game, we're going to get some new player options. You can be, this is me getting distracted by the picture because we got to talk about the Outland.
Outland. Oh, the Outland.
So,
do not make me choose between the Outland and then the Witchlight's Harrigan. Heron. Oh gosh, I can't. Heron gone. Thank you. I kept wanting to say Harrigan.
I see. We don't have to choose though because they're separate adventures, and we can do both. And I'm glad that they didn't try to make me choose in this one because it's gonna be the Owlin. I am so excited for them. The art is amazing for these creatures, and we have some updates to what we can expect in terms of player options, specifically for Strixhaven. So we talked not long ago about the Unearthed Arcana, where they were play testing some material that was going to be designed at the Unearthed Arcana playtest material was specific subclasses that could be flexible between different classes in D&D, which I thought was a really cool and intriguing idea, and I still do. But they listened to player feedback and they made some adjustments to their plans. They had already that's what playtest material is for, right? Find out whether people are into something. And according to Jeremy Crawford, what they learned from those playtests, and I'm going to be more specific here, is that a lot of folks really love the way subclasses speak to what makes a class distinctive. So they play up things that are specific to that class, and they love for things to be sort of setting agnostic, so you can plug them in anywhere and have it make an equal amount of sense. So I get that, frankly. That does make sense, even if I thought personally that they were cool. But have other ways set up to reflect your college. So they have magical items that are going to be including magic textbooks, which I'm very excited about. There are going to be some college-related feats. You will be able to take those cross-class to some extent, but they will be associated with the different colleges, and there will be some college-related backgrounds that will all be sort of in the mix for player options to make things feel really distinctive as you go on your path. Michael, thoughts on the player options we're getting?
Outland, like, come on, they're so cute. How could you not love it?
This is the front cover
But
we're
I
looking at,
am,
and it has hypnotized me. Yeah.
yeah. I'm super excited about the feats, the backgrounds as well, but also the feats. I'm curious. I'm really curious how it's going to affect people's builds. You know, how it's going to affect the way that you're approaching your character when you finally have like this really official sort of university setting that you'd be like, okay, before I was a level 1 or level 7 adventurer, I spent a semester, I spent a year um, learning at this particular college, learning how to hone my craft. You know, maybe you're a fighter or a barbarian and you attended Prismari College in order to weave the sort of dancing and beautiful artistic movements that the Prismari students are known for. You know, picking up those talents and using them in order to create this sort of like unique fighting style that you're going to take into your campaign.
That's such a good idea, and it hadn't even occurred to me. Wow, that's awesome. So something else that intrigued me that we can talk about with Strixhaven is that the structure of this adventure is going to incorporate some less common elements in terms of time progression, where, for instance, you're going to have extracurricular activities. You can participate in up to 2 extracurricular activities or one and a job. And what I love about that is that those choices are going to present you with challenges and opportunities and work mechanically into the overall adventure in terms of growing closer to NPCs or granting you bonuses or spending money, or you'll take periodic exams that will result in bonuses. And that gamifying the school setting is so fascinating to me and something I'm so interested in. I feel like there are video games and other things that sort of take these kind of life management decision things and play them out in game context. There are other systems that I played that use elements of this, but I haven't seen this in my own D&D games before. You can use downtime activities for a lot of really interesting stuff, but I love seeing new experiments, for me at least, with that in D&D. What do you think of the clubs, of the sports, of potentially the so sorry.
Yes.
Water dancing. That was what I was trying to remember. Water dancing? I need to know about water dancing.
I'm super excited. What excites me the most about the clubs and the sports, aside from being able to further define and make your character more unique, is as a DM, being able to put some difficult decisions in front of your players when it comes to time management. Because, you know, you could be in one of these adventures, but you're still going to have exams. You're still going to, as, you know, treasurer of a club, have to attend meetings. You're going to have to maintain a job. And so, you know, your players will have to be like, okay, well, we can solve this murder mystery, but we're probably going to, you know, struggle with our exams, or, you know, I have to make it to work. We have to round up this combat, you guys, because my job is across campus right now. So that's the kind of stuff that I think is going to make for a lot of hilarious antics. You know, like, you're going to get to work covered in some like zombies goo, and be like, I'm sorry, oh geez, and you're just like putting on your uniform and people are just like watching you just like put on a coat as you go and start preparing their food or something hilarious like that. So I think there's just going to be a lot of opportunity there.
I think that, and there's so much beautiful story opportunity there. That obviously crosses over with a lot of really classic inspirational material you could draw on, which is sort of in the, you know, everything from Peter Parker to Buffy Summers in terms of balancing the mundane and the fantastic, balancing the concerns of your larger than life heroics with the people around you. And the reason I bring those examples up is that we love those. The idea to make Peter Parker try to juggle his ordinary life with his superheroics is largely credited with the reason that character helped revolutionize comic book storytelling. Yes, I bring everything back to comics. I am sorry. I will probably never stop. But it is a wonderful well of these examples of how you can make your stories and your challenges break with the things you might have seen or done before, but still using all of that classic stuff. There's still monsters, there's still adventures, there's still challenges. There is some sort of danger lurking in Strixhaven that over the course of those 4 adventures is going to make your life very interesting. You just now have to balance it with a bunch of other stuff that you were probably already doing with your party, but you didn't have rules for. And now you have some optional rules. And I love that.
Call me ambitious, Amy, but something that I want to try out with this book is to run the first year adventure, and then over the summer, you run another adventure, and then the second year starts. And so then you're dealing with like multiple different conflicts while still trying to go to school. In
the summer, you went to the carnival, and then you have to come back for year 2?
Yes, exactly. Except when you come back, it's like 20 years later, and the curriculum has vastly changed. So now you're going to struggle through your exams.
Oh no! The remix of these elements. That's what I love about these books, is it gives you so much to draw on, inspire you, use in your own stories, adapt the way you want to play with them, because they're for play. Let's see. Rocky407 says, question, what level will a graduate from college be? I thought that was going to be a joke about grad school, but it's actually a very sensible question. This adventure is designed to take you from level 1 to 10, I believe, by the time you graduate, which makes sense to me. A 10th level adventurer has a whole lot of good stuff under their belt, but a lot more adventure to seek out in the world. Let's see. Q about Strixhaven from A Cup of Squids. Is there any word on how the years will be laid out and how they'll interact? Is it going to be just vignettes pulled out of the year as a whole, or is there going to be some sort of mechanic for the day-by-day life of the school? Hopefully we have somewhat answered that. There will be a few important sort of incidents per year. There will be some exams that you're going to have to deal with, although each year can be played as an independent adventure if you want to do that. I believe year 1, nobody will have selected their colleges yet, so that'll be a really interesting. When you're starting the second year of your adventure, everybody's got to make a pick.
Yeah, there's also something really cool with the exams as well, because you do have to take tests while attending your school. But depending on how you do on your exams, you could get some sort of benefits on skill checks.
And apparently you can cheat. Not that I would.
Oh no, Amy, no. You know what? I cheated once in my entire school career. It was, I believe, 3rd grade. It was a spelling bee, and somebody dropped their notes or something, and it had the correct spelling of the word that I could not remember, and I was peeking down at it, and I got caught. And
Michael, I'm shocked.
Yeah. I know. I'm still ashamed to this day. I carry that with me. I did learn. I never cheated again.
See, this is the kind of revelation that you will get when you and your group sit down to start digging up old wounds and carving new, exciting adventures. Monica13 has a great question that we kind of skipped over when we talked extracurriculars. Question, will there be some sort of school sport in Strixhaven? Michael?
Yes. There's going to be a Mage Tower, which we do see in from Magic the Gathering. So what we know of Mage Tower in that lore is that you have 2 opposing teams. Each has their own, because each of the colleges has their own respective mascots. And the aim of the game is to essentially capture the opposing team's mascot and then take it back to a certain area. So it's a bit of like capture the flag. But I do also know that you will have the opportunity, if you're not very into sports, you could be on the cheer squad, or, I mean, there's going to be plenty of other clubs for you to play in.
They have some really fascinating possibilities for those clubs, and those play, of course, to the 5 colleges, which we have spent some time discussing, and I keep changing my mind about which one I want to enroll in. So I'm probably leaving that till the end of year 1. But Michael, those 5 colleges, quickly for folks who might have missed those rundowns, what is Lorehold?
All right, so oh gosh, I love this part.
Yeah.
So Lorehold is they are the diligent researchers and your daring adventurers. They're kind of like they're very much your history sort of students. Quandrix are like your engineers, your mathematicians. They're all about manipulating the metaphysics and manipulating the world around them. Silver Quill, these are your poets, your writers. They're an amazing college. What more do I need to say? They're very stylish.
Shout out to the
Prismari.
excellent articles Michael puts together for D&DBeyond.com.
Thank you, Amy. And then you got Prismari. They're kind of your art students. These are your dancers, your painters. They're very driven by either emotion or they're very obsessed with technique, perfecting their lines and such.
And they're very elemental, right?
Yes, they are represented by elementals, and then you have the Witherbloom College. These are I get very druid vibes from them, very necromancer. They're all about plants and the natural world, but also manipulating it for their own advantage. And they're represented by pests, my favorite mascot, which are basically spiky worms that are very temperamental, but you just gotta love them. They're just so cute.
Nature isn't always cute. Or rather, uncuteness is sometimes cute. I don't know. I tried
Yeah.
myself in not saying that, but I love that element. Truthfully, that reminds me very much of people I know, like who get very into like fish biology, and they're just like, people are unfair. Just because something is horrifying to look at doesn't mean it's not adorable. And I'm like, I love your perspective on life. And the terrifying deep sea fish that you legitimately hold dear to your heart. I think that's very cool, and that's very Witherbloom. Brachio407 says, question, will there be an opportunity to roll for tenure? And I'm not sure about that one, but I feel like probably there is going to be an element to have bonds to your favorite professors. And I don't know whether you can help or harm their fortunes, but certainly if I were DMing, that would probably come up. What would you draw on, Michael, if you were running a Strixhaven campaign in terms of influences or things that you'd want to reflect in your storytelling?
We already mentioned it, but Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I think, is a really great source because it's campy, but it also, you get those like more gritty combat scenarios. So I just, definitely that. Oh gosh, what other? There's just so much. There's so many great TV shows and such that are set. X-Men, of course. As a teenager, I used to do text-based role-playing games, and X-Men was one of my favorite ones. You got to come up with your own mutant power, and then you had to somehow survive. You had to take your classes and then also fight, the Brotherhood.
Okay, but same, except we played ours by email.
Oh wow, email.
We'll have to continue this discussion off stream. Play by email sims. Yep.
What about you, Amy? What kind of inspirations do you think you'll pull from?
I love finding out, like Michael and I truly both living out our RPG dreams with Strixhaven on just a really literal level. I definitely all that stuff. There's obviously a wide variety of fantasy literature that has to do with receiving magical training, everything from Wizard of Earthsea to famous franchises that we all know and love and might want different twists on, or to make our own choices about which elements we carry into our fantasy worlds. So I'm very excited to see all the creativity people are going to bring to it. What's that?
I just remembered my number one because I kind of blanked a little bit on that answer. But my number one source of inspiration is going to be The Magicians. Do you know The Magicians?
I haven't read or seen it yet. I hear such good things.
It's so good, and it's more of like a college setting, because Buffy's more like high school sort of era. But The Magicians is set in Break Bills, And all of the characters in the show are adults, and so they're learning very like advanced magical techniques. And there's a lot of sort of like older themes within the show itself, and I think that fits really well with Strixhaven. Unless you want to make this a high school, which I definitely am going to leave up to a vote to my players, because I think this will be very easy to simply say like, okay, your first year is your freshman year, your second year is your sophomore year. So yeah, I
I
think
think
there's so much to play with here that
that's a cool
yeah, you
idea
can
for an
make
edit or
even
an
more
alternate
personal.
version too. If you want to sort of play it out in whatever the equivalent of that age range is for the characters you draw up, you could either make the whole school that way, or you could always do your version with like, and we're in an accelerated program where the talented youth from different villages are doing sort of pre-college programs right among all the college students. I'm not going to stop you. All of those are options that you have. Hmm? All right. Any final thoughts on Strixhaven, a curriculum of chaos, and what we are getting for this Magic the Gathering related D&D sourcebook/adventure?
Gosh, I think one of the best parts of this book is how easy it's going to be to inject
Mm.
into your campaigns. Let's say that let's say that you're like, the adventures aren't for me. You can take all of the mechanics that go with this particular school and then weave them into your normal campaign. You can take the sort of like the oh gosh, I'm losing my train of thought. But you can take the sort of like mechanics that we're going to see on how players interact with NPCs and how to
Hmm.
build NPCs and how to best represent them, and use that for other adventures. But I am curious, Amy, if I can ask, if you've given thought to what kind of college you would want to go to if you were to go to Strixhaven.
This
Are
question
you a
is going to
lore
continue
hold?
to torment
Yeah.
me. Because yes, Silverquill, power of words. Yes, Prismari, theater kids. Yes, Lorehold. I want to know all the things and go into the tombs and talk to ancient spirits in the form of statues and learn their secrets. Are you kidding? But also, yes, math. Yes, science and math. I love that stuff. Theoretical physics, my jam. It's a little rusty, but that was, you know, so not so much like Witherbloom. I feel like I would just be friends with the Witherblooms. I don't have much of a green thumb. I'm not sure how useful I would be, but they seem like they would be very cool to hang out with. I would definitely have a lot of friends in Witherbloom, but I feel like that's the only one that I'm like probably not the college for me. Um, so I'm really having a hard time, is what I'm saying. Have you
That's
committed
okay.
officially to? I believe Quandrix was your early favorite, but is it varying up, or are you still Quandrix all the way?
Look, I feel like I've got the flair of Silverquill,
You
but
do.
Quandrix, I love my Quandrix. I love one of my favorite parts of D&D is understanding all the rules and like breaking things down and going through homebrew and just like reconfiguring things to make it work. And so I've got to stick with Quandrix. I'm not going to throw anything out there for you, Amy, because which college you attend is entirely up to you. You do have until I think it's November 16th to
Thank you.
decide, though.
All right. So I have until November 16th to figure out who I will be. Although technically, then my whole first year, I can just keep waffling. It probably won't play to my long-term optimization, but I can just make a character who has no idea where they're going to end up, and then let them lead the way. Um,
Yeah, you could leave it to the roll of a dice.
so dangerous, but so cool. And what option 6 is that you drop out and become one of the persistent antagonists, right? So roll a
Yeah, the
d6 to
Ori.
figure out. As you can see, Michael and I are already very excited to start constructing our fictions and digging into the world of Strixhaven, a curriculum of chaos. Whichever college it is, it's going to be in Outland. That part is set in stone. You can pre-order that right now on D&D Beyond, and it was so fun hearing from Jeremy Crawford and Amanda Hammond on D&D Live to talk about what made this inspiring for them, what excited them about building and designing this setting and adventure, and why we might want to add it to our shelves, digital or physical, when it comes our way in November. So that is the word the things that we can now share about these two very cool books coming our way this fall from Dungeons and Dragons. We will be back here to talk some more about a certain treasury of dragons in a couple of days. But until then, thank you from me, thank you from Michael, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on D&D Beyond.